What is going on, everybody? Happy Friday. It is episode 861 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett, and I am here with my co-host. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello, Crisis actors. It's Mary. Happy Friday, and hello to any people who might be tuning in at my prompting on Timcast IRL last night. We hope not to scare you off today.
Is that Mary GPT then, if it's a prompt?
Oh, yeah. I'm actually AI.
Yeah.
I think it's finally time to tell all of you. I've been fake this entire time.
What's funniest is we spend a lot of time on the show kind of making people weary of AI because of these horror stories. Yet before the show, I'm showing Mary this AI video of cats jumping off the high.
Oh, no,
high
I
dive.
loved it. I loved it. It actually made me feel so encouraged. Like, if an AI cat can do a high dive, maybe I can do anything I set my mind to.
Those were pretty good jumps, too.
I was like cheering for them.
Yeah.
Like I felt proud of the cats.
It was good. It's like half my algorithm is stuff like that.
And the next thing you know, Riley Gaines is going to be on a new campaign against cats invading women's sports.
That makes sense. Isn't her last name
AI
Barker?
cats.
Isn't her last name Barker?
It's Gaines.
But like, isn't she married?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, like if it's Barker, then she's clearly a dog person. She'll be out to get the cats.
Publicly, she still goes by her maiden name.
Yeah. Okay. Guys, we have a bunch of stuff to get into today. Not to aside too much, but hit the like button on this video, this live stream, and share it out with everybody in your life that you know, your friends, your family, your loved ones, people in your life that you like, people in your life that you don't like so much. You should share it with all of them, especially the ones that you don't like, because we get into topics that you may disagree on. Then I want you to go down into the comments section, and I want you to argue about it with those people so that you can increase our engagement. It is all part of my master plan. So you should go ahead and do that because it helps the show out a lot. So share it out with everybody. So what are we getting into today? We've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. It is Friday. Jojo Siwa has been scared straight.
Well, I mean, I think what she was trying to say is that she was scared gay originally, facing pressure from the LGBT community to identify as a lesbian, which clearly she is not.
Yes. So we are going to talk about that. We're going to get into a discussion because she seems like this weird kind of catalyst for these topics because she's so young. She's in her early 20s. She's kind of representative of a new era of Hollywood,
Right.
I guess of pop music makers and stuff like that, and the way they view gender ideology and stuff like that. So we'll talk about it. We are also going to talk about a civil war going on in the Sheen family household. Not Charlie Sheen, not even Denise Richards. We're talking about Sami Sheen and her sister Lola Sheen, who are arguing over OnlyFans and Christianity.
And many more things, actually.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that. Also, Addison Rae, if you don't know her, again, for instance, if you're new here and you don't know who Addison Rae is, she is a pop star, and she has become the new face of body positivity in an Ozempic era for music.
If anyone ever told me that I'm the new face of body positivity, I don't think I would emotionally recover from that.
Never.
Like, that would stick with me forever.
I read like this one thread Mary sent me, and it was all backhanded compliments. They're like, I love the way she doesn't care how she looks.
I love the way that she just lets it all hang out. I could never.
Never. So
even though she's not even chubby, she's a very normal, healthy-looking, muscular girl.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that. We got a bunch of other stuff. If you're ready, we can get into it. You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started then. So, guys, I have been talking quite a bit on this show over the last several months about the upcoming release of James Gunn's Superman. I've got my critiques of James Gunn's promotion for this movie. I do believe that he's focusing more on himself than he is on the actor David Cornsweet, who's, of course, playing Superman. But we had some supposed good news last week when there was a early box office tracking number that said it was looking to make between $145 and $180 million just domestically in its opening weekend. But despite the fact that the phrase for Superman says look up, things are kind of looking down because they have adjusted those numbers. It is now looking like the movie is going to open from anywhere between $90 and $125 million.
But don't we still not know the budget of the movie?
I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, even at a lower budget, this is not a good number. This is going to be a movie like this is going to have double the marketing or at least more of the marketing than the average movie is going to, these big summer box office movies. And the other thing is like this opens below Thor for like Love and Thunder, below the final Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and even below the Batman. And those aren't numbers that you can really come back from, and I'll tell you why. So Captain America 4 opened to $88 million. So that's just at the low end of what this movie is looking like. It did $88 million over 3 days. It did $100 million over 4 days, but Superman is a 3-day opening, so we'll call it 3 days. Thunderbolts opened to just $76 million, and both of those movies ended like $415 to $380 million. $415 for Captain America, $380 million for Thunderbolts. That's for entire box office take. Now, if we're going to go by James Gunn's numbers, James Gunn movies, like we're talking Guardians of the Galaxy 1, 2, and 3, 1 opened to $94 million, 2 opened to $146 million, and 3 opened to $118 million. Now, the problem is those movies are from 2014, 2017, 2023. If you adjust for inflation, that's a lot more for for those first 2 movies. Even the 2023 Guardians of the Galaxy is like at not the beginning of inflation, but right in the middle there. So those first 2 ones opened to much higher.
The recent one actually break $1 billion, or am I misremembering?
So Guardians of the Galaxy 1 made $773 million, 2 made $869, and 3 made $845 million. So Superman wants to be in that range, especially if you think about the fact that 1 and 2, 773 and 869 would be way more when you adjust for inflation. Now
we have a 20 from Jose Quintana. Happy Friday, Brett and Empress. I saw a very early showing of 28 Years Later. Very disappointing. The gore was okay, but the lead kid was absolutely stupid. Such a waste. Long live the Gonkanese. Long live PCC.
Yeah, I've seen some varying takes about that. Wasn't my franchise, but I saw some people saying
the lead kid being
in the
Cillian Murphy.
No, he's not in this one. He's in the next 2.
Wait, was it Aaron Taylor Johnson?
I'm guessing it's somebody younger than that. But,
okay.
Look, for Guardians of the Galaxy, $869 million is a lot of money, especially in 2017, which would equal way out to that more now. This movie needs to make $800 to $1 billion if they want to justify putting the faith in James Gunn to continue making these movies going forward, and adjusting those numbers down to just $90 million. Like, if it makes under $100 million, that is a death knell for his ideas, for his vision.
And you said there's this safe number that people throw out for a budget estimate, which is, I think you said 180 million?
No, that was the early predictions for
the budget.
$180 million is one that they keep making.
That's one that they throw out there.
It's like we can justify making
whatever
lower
makes
money.
sense.
It did not cost $180 million to make Superman. It cost way more money than that. One of the issues that people have right now, at least that I've seen, this isn't a complaint that I'm taking, is that people think that Superman looks kind of nerfed in this one. Like, he looks imminently beatable between like him getting his ass kicked all over the place in the trailer.
That's because you haven't met David Cornsweet in real life. If you did, you would see that he's a very imposing
No. They're just talking about he's getting his ass kicked in the trailers. They're not talking about his physical stature.
That's just a plot line choice that James Gunn has made, and he defended it in a recent interview. He said that he's seen getting hurt quite frequently. In talking to people, a lot of them are like, I like Batman better because he can actually be beat, and I get that. So we have a Superman that can be beat. I wanted Superman to be vulnerable. I see the online things. Who would beat whom? Homelander or Superman or effing whatever. Adam Warlock or Brightburn. And I'm like, this is the effing stupidest effing conversation. Like, then whoever would win this fight means that they're the best? Because I'll just go out and write God-Man who can destroy you with a wink, and I win. I win all the fights forever. Honestly... And that's when he said he wants Superman that can be beat in this movie.
So there is an ongoing discussion over the years that it's hard to write with Superman and it's hard to engage with Superman because he was created with such an OP power level that it makes the story less interesting if it doesn't feel like at any point he can get hurt or die. Now, that used to mean that means that the characters that he cares about get written into peril, because the best way to get to Superman is to get to the people that he cares about. That way there are still stakes even if Superman himself himself can't be injured. So which is it? Like, is it that you don't want a character that can get hurt at all and he's OP and then there's no stakes whatsoever? Or do you want a version of the character where it feels like something is at risk or at stake every time he gets into a fight? On one hand, it does feel fundamentally different than Superman when he's constantly getting his ass kicked in losing fights. Again, we don't know if that's going to happen, but it's he's addressing something that happened in prior stories that people had an issue with. But I don't think that that's the real reason why some people have a problem with the marketing. I don't even know what it would be. Like, the problem with the internet is algorithmically, depending on what side of the internet I'm on that day, some people are saying this movie looks horrible, and then other people are saying this movie looks fantastic. I can't actually gauge it. The only thing that really seems fair to track this would be the numbers that we're looking at here.
We have another 20 from Izek. It's a couple of days too late, but it suddenly hit me this morning. That new Will Smith song is the ultimate midlife crisis song.
I mean, it didn't really have a whole lot of passion to it if it's a midlife crisis song.
Bro is way past the age of midlife crises.
He not going to live to 100.
In his late 50s.
I mean, maybe he will live to 100. I don't know.
But I wanted to ask you how you predict they will handle the on-screen chemistry between
I hope they lean into it.
David Cornsweet and Rachel Brosnan.
They have fantastic chemistry. Like, together, the actors have.
I haven't seen them interact, so I don't know.
That's okay. So they actually have handled this kind of poorly in a way, because the promo images for this movie were fantastic. They do the one where they're both in the phone booth and they have instant chemistry. When you see photos of them together, they have instant chemistry. But the main plot line for the first full-scale trailer for this was her being combative with him in an interview, where the way somebody was
Kent.
Yes, where he's Clark Kent, and the way somebody explained it to me was like, in this he's already in love with her, and she's just trying to be objective and do her job. And
wait, why is he in love with her already when they're?
I don't know if the idea here is that they're. I don't know if they're. No, they obviously it's not their first time interacting, because she knows he's Superman, because she's calling him Superman, but he's dressed up like Clark Kent.
Oh,
so I don't know if they're if they're already together at that point. But the point is that people base a lot on assumptions, and they went right out of the box making her look combative and like as if she was berating him, though I would make the argument that she was just doing her job, and how they handle it later will be more important. But still, first impressions matter, and people who are willing to nitpick were looking at that and saying that they were going to girl boss Lois Lane and put Superman in his place. Yeah. But any scene where you see them interacting together in a romantic capacity, they have fantastic chemistry together, way more than I think Amy Adams and Henry Cavill had in the Batman vs. Superman and all of the Zack Snyder movies. It's
kind of an uphill battle no matter what, because you have several camps who want to hate this movie. One of them, I mean, probably just the people who don't care. I probably fit into that camp. Secondly, the people who just want to hate on all superhero movies, regardless of whether they're DC or Marvel, or the character. And then you have the people who are mad at James Gunn because they're Snyder fans and they're trying to sabotage it. And then there are also a lot of content creators who have an interest in framing this movie as woke. And they're hoping that Lois will be a girl bossified character so that they can make content out of it.
I mean, I'm going to give the movie a shot either way. I'm excited to see how it turns out. I'll tell you this, I'm way more excited to watch this than I am to watch Fantastic Four. Like, I can't care about Fantastic Four.
Do you think that this is going to outperform Fantastic Four?
So it did outperform it, at least as what we're looking at right now with the pre-sales for this film, meaning that this is the #1 movie as far as pre-sale tickets this year, according to Fandango. Whether that translates long-term to box office, I don't know, because the movie has to be good, because superhero movies in general tend to be front-loaded, meaning that they make a lot of their money in the opening weekend. Now, if you look at James Gunn's, it actually didn't like lead up to that. What was it? It was 118 million for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which is good to mildly above average, I guess, considering that the middle one made more than that and the first one made less. But it went on to be the second highest grossing. So in his movies, they all kind of line up. 94 million opening, that's the lowest opening, led to the lowest final box office of the series, which was 773 million if we're not talking about adjusting for inflation. The biggest opening weekend, which was the second one, was 146, which went on to make 869 million. But 3 opened to like 20 million less and still made $845 million. So if he can get this movie to $120 million and it's got good word of mouth, then it can hang on and stay in the theaters for a long period of time. It's just not going to be one of those cases where it makes most of its money the opening weekend. It has to have good word of mouth from people. But given how controversial this entire marketing campaign has been, I don't know if that's how it works.
They're really treading on thin ice with this is not just this movie, any movie showing on-screen chemistry between a male and female character. With that combative interview scene,
I don't know if that was a great look to
start
the trailer with that.
It just something that came so naturally to screenwriters before, where they could add an element of mischief or tension that could still be interpreted as romantic and intrigue. And I feel like screenwriters are not capable of striking that note anymore, where it just comes off as antagonistic.
I think part of it is also that society has changed and people's hackles are up in a way that they weren't before.
And there also is the factor that people are looking for a reason, obviously, to misinterpret it or be mad at it.
It's one of the reasons why you can still go, like, if you go back and if I watch something new, the hackles are up immediately until such a time as the movie or show proves to me that it's not going to be annoying. That happened with High Potential. I watched High Potential, and it took like 4 episodes of me kind of to unclench and not be annoyed and not look for something that was going to be annoying. With old shows, I don't do that at all. Like, I can watch a show made prior to 2016 that I've never seen, and I don't have to worry about that because you don't feel like you feel like the chances of that happening are less likely because it was made at a time before things are the way they are now.
Right.
But that's kind of your own, that's your own cross to bear if you pay close attention to this stuff and you're kind of stuck.
It
worrying
reminds
about
me
this.
of like
the lowest scene did not bother me.
Even a kid's movie, the Mario Bros movie.
Yeah.
When people were looking at the trailer and saying that Princess Peach is a girl boss.
Yeah.
Like, can we just kind of put down the anti-woke goggles for a second and really evaluate it for what it is? Because I watched it and I didn't get that vibe from her character at all.
And that's most of the name of the game whenever I post about anything is like,
people are so triggered.
people just want to ask about, and that doesn't mean that it's not there with plenty of things. It still does show up all the time, but for me, it's like I kind of just keep that to myself until such a time as I start noticing it, and then I get annoyed, and then I'll say something about it. But I don't go into something looking for it because I want it to be true because I want to be annoyed. I go into it because you've been burned so many times. You're like, I can't take this anymore. But I didn't get that tone from the Lois and Clark scene, but I get why people did.
Now, I do have popcorn bucket derangement syndrome.
You do hate popcorn buckets.
I don't know what it is. It's just like the cheapest marketing, like consumerist marketing tactic.
And they cost
I've
a
ever
fortune.
Seen. And it's completely pointless.
First of all, the dog bowl is just a great way to not have to give you enough popcorn.
Yeah.
The crypto dog bowl.
So you're just getting cheated out of popcorn.
Okay, this one is actually cool with Superman shooting the laser vision through the popcorn, like the actual big popcorn bucket where the popcorn is popped.
Okay.
So, the Galactus one for Fantastic Four was definitely the best of the recent popcorn buckets, and all of them are better than the Dune 2 fleshlight.
Well, yeah, at least none of them had a weird sexual undertone.
Correct.
Or overtone.
And then there was the dog. This is David Cornsweat's actual dog.
So the dog in the movie is ugly.
Yes.
I'm just gonna say it. I don't know is that the point, that it's supposed to be ugly cute?
It's I guess.
I can't stand it.
I'm guessing
it looks crusty.
David,
it looks like your friend's crusty white dog named Bella.
David Cornsweat's dog. Well, I mean, that's a pretty good shot of it. It's less crusty there.
No, the white dog is ugly and crusty. This dog, the real dog, they should have used David Cornsweat's dog. I think this
but
is
he's probably not trained.
I grew up with 2 Cavalier King Charles Spaniels.
You did?
They are the best dog breed. They're the cutest dog breed. I'm not even a dog person, and even I can admit that this is an adorable dog. And they should have used this dog actor. Look how cute it is compared to the movie.
You have a dog?
Ugly.
I got a soft spot. That's like a glamour shot right there.
That is way cuter.
That looks like a senior photo.
Tell me you agree with me on this.
It's a better looking
They should have
dog.
used David Corenswet's dog. That would also add a little, tidbit for fans who like that kind of thing. Like it has a connection to the actor. That's cute. And they would have natural chemistry on screen.
I don't know. So the thing is I bet you that the trained dogs are members of SAG-AFTRA. The trained dogs are like.
Seriously?
I mean, I don't know if they have their card.
Is there a pet division of SAG?
They have to. There's all sorts of rules and regulations that are in place when live animals are brought on set because they don't want PETA to show up and start doing their lame Twitter posts.
Register the dog with SAG-AFTRA
and give it a job.
That's what they should have done.
Okay.
I'm pissed.
All right, let's move on. By the way, guys, I did get the crisis meter working down there, which means you should get us crisis parties.
We're back.
Up there.
We're so back.
We are so back. It's working.
Functioning crisis meter and everything. It seems like every week, Call Her Daddy host Alex Cooper has a new record-breakingly stupid piece of advice or take on dating, sex, and relationships to share with the world and her incredibly stupid, predominantly female audience. And this one really takes the cake. She was taking advice questions from her audience in this recent episode of her podcast. Alex Cooper is the last person in the world I would ask for advice on literally anything. Maybe I would ask her for business advice. I would not ask her for advice on my personal life and how to conduct myself in my relationships. Well, but this,
you don't have anything in common with her.
This audience member said that she keeps a list of her past sexual experiences and that her boyfriend discovered it and was deeply disturbed by it, understandably so. He broke up with her, but then they got back together because this guy is stupid, and he continued making backhanded comments about it. She doesn't know how to handle the situation. These two people obviously should break up. But Alex Cooper's advice was much different, actually. She was, I think, personally triggered by this question because it's so similar to her experience. She herself keeps a list, she admits this, and is currently married. So let's hear what she had to say.
My boyfriend has a very big issue with my past. He found my list of people I have been with, and he was pissed. He actually broke up with me initially, but after a while, we got back together. The issue now is, I feel like he is constantly making judgmental comments about me being easy or having a high body count. He always says...
You don't hear the term easy much these days.
He's just kidding.
That's a throwback.
But how can I get him to stop caring that I was with guys before him? I feel like every single girl has a list of the guys she's ever been with. Like, how fun. I remember the men that have been inside of me, and I have a husband, and that's okay. This sounds like a really insecure or possessive man. We've all lived. We've all had a good time. And if anything, everyone we've been with prior to has helped us become the person we are today. I think your answer next time he says that, if you were just being catty, is like, what's your point? I was so easy. What's your point? Do you not want to be with me anymore? He's like, well, no, I'm just saying, like, I'm really fucking shocked, like, how easy you were. What's your point? What's your point? Are you trying to put me down right now? Or do you want me to get upset? Do you want me to defend myself? Like, you let me know what's your point. What do you want me to do? You want me to leave? You want me to call them? Do you want me to detail everyone for you? Do you want me to pretend you're the first person I've ever had sex with? Like, what do you want? What will make you feel better? You little fucking bitch boy. My boy...
So first of all, the question is a false premise because the girl was saying, how do I get him to stop caring that I was with other people before him? He wasn't disturbed with the idea that you had previous sexual partners, from what it sounds like. He was disturbed by your psychotic behavior of documenting all of it in a list, which is not normal, as Alex Cooper said. She's like, oh yeah, we all do that. Am I right, ladies? No, at least I hope this is not common. I believe the average lifetime sexual partners at this point for a woman in the United States is somewhere between 4 and 6. That doesn't require an Excel spreadsheet with notes to match and little doodles to remember each and every encounter.
The mean comment at the end indicates a certain level of self-consciousness
Yes.
Because she's lashing out.
Yeah, the
Like,
defensiveness.
even if she's won't admit it, it seems like that's a way of people knowing that she's definitely not as okay with it as she makes it out to be.
Of course.
You're convincing yourself that it's true rather than being completely comfortable in what it is.
Of course.
Also,
yes.
but that's not to let this guy off the hook where he should have just left. Like, if it bothered him that much, just go and like literally find anyone else.
Right. If you think she's so easy
make
and disgusting,
that your first question
don't date
on a
her.
dating site. Be like, do you have a list of all the men who have been inside you? And if they say no, then you proceed.
Right. If you are truly that bothered by it that you broke up with her at first over this,
Unless
you
I
shouldn't
mean,
get back together.
The funnier version of this is like he's gonna break up with her again. He's just wasting her time to be petty, which I can't co-sign, but it would be funny.
I'm sure that does happen quite often, though. I'm sure. But yeah, that guy clearly is an idiot, and he should have moved on. I don't. Again, I think that people just ignore signs. They ignore red flags.
He's like, I don't care that it's a list. I care that it's the size of a phone book.
Right. Like, she didn't even say how many people were on it. Yeah. So many questions. But I have heard Alex Cooper in the past encourage her female audience, especially in the early years of Call Her Daddy, to keep a roster of men that they are either dating or sleeping with. And never have I heard her admit to keeping a list of all of her past sexual encounters. But I know this is rare. However, many women talk about doing this. I went back into the archives of the now defunct Jezebel outlet, and one of their journalists actually solicited responses from the audience to how they document their sexual encounters, what they use to do it. Is it a leather-bound journal? Is it, an Excel spreadsheet, perhaps?
That's the funnier version of this.
There are even third-party apps that are dedicated to this. I wouldn't trust it. It's titled Indexing Your Sex Life: Why and How We Keep F Lists. I put out a call on social media for stories about how people archived their sexual pasts. I wasn't interested in learning the exact number my contacts had. I cared less about how many they remembered than the tools they used to remember them. I got replies from 78 women and 31 men, many of them very detailed. Several sent me photos of their lists. 2 sent me Excel spreadsheets they used. Understandably, none were available for publication. So my assumption was right. I think this is more common in women than men. Although your assumption was the opposite.
No, I had no assumption. I actually was thinking about an episode of a TV show where a character finds out they're investigating the death of a pickup artist, and he's got like an entire booklet of women. And in the show, it's like, oh, look at men, they're so
they're pigs.
They're pigs, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, guys, is that when men behave like this, they do so understanding that they will be called pigs by women. But when women do stuff like this, you're supposed to accept it for what it is. Otherwise, you're insecure.
Right.
So men, you have 2 choices. Be a pig or be insecure.
Yeah.
So when you go on
little bitch
and you
boy.
make your whore phone book, you can do that and tell him Alex Clark sent you. Say, look, I was told I could either be a pig.
Cooper.
What did I say Clark? Alex Cooper. And you can be either a pig or insecure. He's like, I chose pig.
Well, the stereotype would be that the men recording these lists are doing so to brag about their sexual conquests.
Oh, so there's a more noble reason to do this, is what the women are saying. It's like,
yes.
we're doing it because we're more noble than you.
My assumption is that the women do this because they are neurotic, because they are using this as some kind of way to document their journey of growth. As Alex Cooper said, it will show you how much you've changed as a person over time. Some kept lists in computer files. Many noted they listed them in bound journals and transferred to digital archives. Several mentioned they were familiar with sites like Nookist, which bills itself as a safe, secure, and confidential place for people to store their sexual histories. But only one person actually trusted a third-party app enough to use it. It sounds like blackmail
Yeah,
material
you're
to me.
you're gonna hate when that site gets hacked
We
and
have
your
a
list comes out.
20 from DJ Ango. Keeping a list of dudes that you slept with like an Airbnb ledger is quagmire behavior. Giggity and diabolical. Hi, Brett. Hi, Mary. Have a great weekend.
Hello, DJ Ango. Why didn't he just make his, like, what? All he needed to do was make a fake list that's even bigger and leave it lying around with, like, her friends in it.
Well, yeah, there were some stories like that. One of them that responded to Jezebel said she discovered her boyfriend's list and one had a mutual friend and it caused issues in their relationship. I heard from people with lists as small as 3 and as many as 640. Though the majority of responses were from heterosexual partners, I heard from many who recorded details of same-sex encounters as well. Women, perhaps stereotypically, were more likely to record details beyond just names and phone numbers. One woman drew a Saint Bernard next to the name of a slobbering one-night stand.
If it's just
and then
names
put
and
a
numbers,
tiny stopwatch next to a lover who finished too quickly.
if it's just names and numbers, then all it is a little black book.
For men, that's more likely what they're going to record rather than notes on how it went.
Again, that's just utilitarianism.
Other respondents reported using symbols to record a few pertinent details. More than half of the women had a system for distinguishing sexual encounters that didn't include intercourse. Perhaps an ellipses for second base, an asterisk for third, an exclamation point for a home run. One of the most sensitive issues around lists involves how or whether to integrate non-consensual experiences onto the list. There are also different reasons people reported for why they keep lists. One common refrain is, I don't want to forget my past. A few talked about the list as a source of pride or shame. One wrote that she began to keep a list at 16 when she had 2 names to record and numbered 8 more blank spaces, saying she was allowed to get to 10 names on the list before she got married. I decided totally arbitrarily that I could get to 10 without being slutty. I numbered the blank spaces as a way of rationing myself. It seems silly now that I've long since blown by that number. As expected, I heard from both men and women who remembered reaching certain milestones, 10, 25, 100, with pride. I know it's juvenile, but when I got to that 50th name written down, I felt a huge sense of accomplishment, said one man. That's what I assume men would take from this practice.
No woman would
a sense of accomplishment.
No woman would get a sense of accomplishment from this because
Yes.
it takes exactly 0 effort for women to be able to have sex.
On the other hand, women tend to document this as a source of self-acceptance or a tool for sustaining memories. One said, I feel like my transition from the more timid, afraid of being slut-shamed girl I used to be into the much more sexually assertive and confident woman I am now has informed this desire to have a tangible collection to look back on. She shares her number and her list with new or potential partners as well as friends as a good way to weed out judgmental assholes before I get too close to them. I heard similar things from dozens of other respondents who mentioned the list served not only to jog their memories, but as several put it, to serve as a testament to a hard-won emotional growth, of which they were genuinely proud.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. The last girl you just mentioned said that she shares the list with potential partners to weed out judgmental assholes.
But also friends, which is really weird.
What about a guy who, like, have you ever seen that the meme of, like, Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet where he's showing her the booklet from Titanic?
Mm-hmm.
And he's giggling. Like, if a guy shows up on his first date and he shows this to a girl, is he weeding out judgmental asshole women? Or by the women's logic, is she supposed to be like, oh, you are so into self-acceptance. Good
Paint
job.
me like one of your French girls.
Yes. List me one of your French girls.
Women would of course, not feel the same way about it if a man presented them with a list of their past sexual encounters. They would obviously feel undercut by that.
Somebody in the chat mentioned Bonnie Blue, and that means that her book would look generally like In Search of Lost Time by Proust, which is the longest book ever written.
Yeah, it would be like War and Peace, the sequel.
Yes.
But, you know, there are a lot of people asking, is it normal that I do this? It's not. It's really not. I don't even think that most promiscuous people do this. It's a very small subset, I would imagine, of highly promiscuous people that document their sexual encounters, especially to the point of taking notes on how each one occurred and drawing little doodles next to each name. That is incredibly weird. It's honestly dehumanizing to every person that you hooked up with to basically review them like a business on Yelp.
I mean, that's just a byproduct of taking the emotional connection out of sex.
It's like
in today's society.
Collecting people on a charm bracelet because you don't see them as people, you see them as objects. Mm-hmm. And it also betrays the fact that as much as they would insist these hookups are truly meaningless and they're only for the purpose of pleasure, that is not true, especially if we're talking about promiscuous women. They are emotionally invested in these encounters, however ephemeral. And clearly it matters to them if they feel the need to document it and intertwine it into their self-mythologizing story of self-care and growth.
Yeah, I mean, I think that including the idea of growth and self-acceptance is just, it's the yellow brick road of cope all the way to the very end of the line. But it's also a product of today's society and the way sex is treated in society as a disposable thing rather than something meaningful.
Yeah.
And a certain level of self-mythologizing is probably likely when you live a boring life and the most interesting thing about you is, you know, who you're sleeping with.
Sadly, yeah, I think a lot of these women think it makes them quirky or this is a hobby of theirs. You know, it's like a quirky little tidbit they can share with their friends. And while your friends may laugh along with you and act like that's cute, I'm certain they are not envious.
I mean, it depends on the friend group, right? If she's surrounded herself with girls like her, then they would probably bond over these types
This
of
is what
stories.
women do. They'll encourage female friends to go down a spiral of self-destruction just for entertainment value because of the undercurrent of sexual, intrasexual competition. It's just the same way that a hairdresser will encourage you to get to cut your hair into a bob if she perceives you to be in competition with her in attractiveness.
Yeah,
it's the same exact mindset.
Yeah, and I think that the end of the statement where Alex Cooper makes about getting into the name calling area is just kind of gives away what she actually feels about the situation, which is not as confident in her position as she makes it out to be.
Yep, exactly.
All right, what would you like to see? Hold on.
Thank you.
Crisis Party. There you go.
Good timing on that one.
It's working.
We're so back.
Yep.
New Crisis Party sound coming soon, by the way.
Hopefully Monday if I, you know... like my hope is that by Monday that'll be done, but it depends on if
it's so good.
I have to either stay late today or come in early on Monday.
I promise it's worth the wait, no matter what it is.
Yeah. All right. What would you like to see first, cringe or cute of the day?
Let's see, cringe first.
All right, let's do that. Cringe first. Here we go. Nope, 3 screen. There we go. You want to give everybody like a.
This is a Disney adult cringe.
Okay. We are in line for the Nifty 50s pin event, and we are so excited. This line is growing more and more. Wait a minute. Somebody's coming. What is it? You guys, Andy's coming! Andy's coming!
Not a child in sight.
Oh, what just happened? Andy's coming! Oh my gosh. Andy's coming!
I don't even know what that means. But they seem to know the reference.
Toy Story.
What is that? They're supposed to like play dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they're not. Remember, they're not real.
Got it.
So they gotta.
Got it.
I mean, having to say it more than once is the problem here.
No one there wants to play this game with you.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say it again. Not a child in sight.
Yeah.
Literally all adults waiting in line all day to go to an event for trading lapel pins that are Disney themed. Get a job.
I mean, they probably were. It's the gig economy, so they can go to Toy Story events and then go and then go to work afterwards. All right, cute of the day. This one's from Cookie Don. It says 1 year since I adopted this orange punk. Look how big he got. There he was in his little. Oh,
very cute.
That's a very cute kitty.
Love an orange cat.
It looks judgmental there. It looks like it's judging you.
He's just squinting because of the sun.
Okay.
He needs some sunglasses.
All right, let's get started.
Back at the age of 17, Jojo Siwa came out to the public as a lesbian. And in recent months, we have discovered she no longer identifies that way at the age of 22. And she is in a public relationship with Chris Hughes, who she met on the set of Celebrity Big Brother. This has been incredibly controversial for people who are fans of her, people who are haters alike, and some people consider it hypocritical. Much of the LGBTQ community is lashing out at her for denying her true identity as a lesbian, and they're saying she needs to come back out of the closet. Miley Cyrus was one of those people who joked about it. But I saw a recent TMZ video where they interviewed JoJo about her new relationship and all of the commentary on it. And she is quite literally glowing, and it's not just the light that they're blaring onto her face. She can't stop smiling. She is even dressing in a different way. She just looks more conventionally attractive. She's not going around in costumes all the time with rainbows everywhere. She seems to be really growing up into her own and becoming an adult and maturing. And her response to all of this backlash is, I think, quite mature. She's not lashing out back at these people. She just thinks that her relationship should speak for itself. And I want to play this video. About 40 seconds in is when she comments on it.
Okay. Here we go.
The thing is love is a beautiful rainbow, and I think that the LGBTQIA community needs to remember that love is love, and I think the hate from within the community is something that I've learned a lot from, and I think that a lot of people get to grow from, and I'm one of those people, but I think that it just, again, I get to be an example of love is love. You can be happy. And,
Hey, Jay.
Hi, Divas. How are you guys?
talking about how love is love.
Oh,
okay.
yes.
So on that note, I do want to ask though about the Miley Cyrus comment.
Oh,
the
yeah,
joke
my
she
gosh.
made. What I know you said you DM'd her. And
I did.
She responded.
Yes.
Have you guys talked more since then? Are you upset with her about that or?
Oh God, no, I couldn't. No love lost at all. She's Miley Cyrus. I grew up loving her. I'll forever love her.
Things seem to be moving pretty fast with you and Chris. You know, what's that relationship like? We we're open to this relationship very soon. We saw a lot very quickly.
I mean, listen, he is my favorite person in the world.
You look happy too, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, it kind of it's beautiful. It kind of radiates. He's my favorite person, and I'm very grateful and very happy.
I was gonna say, last time I talked to you,
Guy's very good at his job.
talked about your marriage. You already had like a best man picked out and everything.
I do have my best man picked out. I do.
So any thoughts of marriage here with Chris? Or?
So many thoughts.
Okay. Is this the new car? The new car is great.
Yeah, that guy's very
Yeah.
good at his job.
Yeah, definitely props to him for getting the comment. But she's beaming. I mean, you can tell she's happier when she's now in a relationship with a man. And I think this is the natural way of things. Now she has just done an interview with Daily Mail talking about the pressure she faced from the gay community to join the cult, essentially. She said, "I was pressured into calling myself a lesbian, and she told the truth about her relationship with Chris Hughes and the ex, Kath Ebbs, who she publicly dumped, who is a female that identifies as non-binary. So basically, this is the comment that's going viral from it. She said, when I came out at 17, I said, I'm pansexual because I don't care about gender. But then I kind of boxed myself in and I said, I'm a lesbian. And I think I did that because of pressure. In a weird way, I think it came a little bit from inside the LGBTQ community at times. From people I know, from partners I've had. You just get put in this world where you feel like, because you've now said, I'm a lesbian, you have to be a lesbian. And the truth is, sexuality is fluid. So she's not entirely understanding the point of this. I think she was kind of groomed into identifying as gay for a lot of different reasons. One of them being that she's a child star who was raised on a reality TV show and needed to differentiate herself. There is a huge marketing boost from identifying as gay that she experienced the fruits of. There was also her strange friendship with Colleen Ballinger, who ran
I forgot about that. Holy crap.
Yeah, the Miranda Sings YouTube channel. She had inappropriately close friendships with a lot of her fans, Jojo Siwa being just one of them, and a lot of people blamed Colleen Ballinger for that. Jojo Siwa, you know, eventually identifying as gay. Perhaps Colleen's influence had something to do with that. There was also details about Colleen sharing like way too much about her sex life with her husband, with her own fan base.
That feels like a lifetime ago. Is that 2022?
Yeah, but they were incredibly close for a long time when Jojo Siwa was still a child, which I think is something to raise an eyebrow at the very least. But Jojo says her relationship with Chris Hughes, according to some people, it's PR. They're faking it for attention.
I mean, at the very least, it's been like 2 seconds. It's been like a single skip and a hop, and they're like asking her about marriage, which is just leading from the journalists.
I think it's evident from the way she is acting in that interview alone that this isn't just a PR relationship that they're faking for headlines. She also told The Guardian, it's not platonic anymore. It's been a beautiful development, connection, and I'm absolutely head over heels for him, and he feels the same way. She says anyone who suggests their relationship is a PR stunt is only telling on themselves. Clearly, you've never been around us. I won't speak for him, but for me personally, the happiness in my life just radiates off of me right now. Literally yesterday, I've never been in more pain from smiling so much. And the gays just can't stand it.
I mean, I think that...
it's all love is love until someone is happy in a straight relationship and isn't part of their cult anymore.
I don't know what's true here, but I'm just going to not take anyone's word for any of it. You could be 110% right, but everybody's always, how much of Hollywood is some type of planned relationship. I don't know if that's what this is, but...
I just believe that if she had any real leadership or authority or
like
care in her
management,
life... No, her parents, her friends, people who actually know her, they would have advised her not to publicly label herself and align herself with this quote-unquote community, which, of course, doesn't care about you as a person. They only care about what you represent in the media. They would have advised her not to do that in the first place, especially at such a young age.
I mean, just don't talk about it at all.
Yes. And that then encouraged her to lean into it and make it her entire brand. Just months ago, she was seen wearing a jacket that says "Protect Trans Kids" on the back. Yeah. And, some people are saying this is
that doesn't
blatant
mean she
hypocrisy.
That does not mean she doesn't still believe that, like she said.
No, I'm not saying it does. Yeah. I think she would still defend that decision. But people are saying this is hypocrisy from Jojo Siwa, saying that she's young and still figuring herself out. Meanwhile, she isn't willing to see the connection between that, her own situation, and that of young children who are misdiagnosed with gender dysphoria because they are young and still figuring themselves out. I think that's a revelation that she could possibly still come to down the line.
I don't believe that she'll ever do that. Even if she comes to that realization that's never going to come out in public, she'll be labeled and it'll end her career before it even starts.
It's never something that she'll
never talk about it.
Be advised to talk about publicly. Certainly she would become public enemy number 1 after J.K. Rowling, but still, I mean, she must realize at this point that the people who were propping her up for her LGBT affiliation never had an interest in her as a person in the first place. They were only willing to support her insofar as it benefits them and their cause.
I mean, that's why people should take issue with the idea of having to believe in a concept like allies. Like, I don't want to be anyone's ally. I'll be somebody's friend, but I don't want to ever, like, I'm not going to subject myself to only being worthwhile to you based on what I can do for you as a large-scale group. I'll defend my friends no matter who they are, but I'm not going to go to bat for any group at all.
Right.
If all they want to think of you as is some type of ally towards their cause. And that goes for any group. We're not even just talking about this stuff. I'm talking about political factions and social movements. It's actually gross.
Yeah.
The entire concept of that.
Well, I think the biggest sign that this isn't a PR stunt is actually just the change we've observed in how Jojo Siwa presents herself now.
You mean dress
She's
or
not-
like her actual like mannerisms?
Everything.
Okay.
Everything. She isn't, dyeing her hair all these crazy colors. She's growing her hair out. She wants to look more feminine. She's dressing in a more mature adult way. And also she isn't screaming all the time. She actually seems to be more calm in her demeanor.
Didn't it come out that she was like fake drinking?
Yes,
one of the-
she admitted to that. She admitted that was what she was doing because she wanted to project a certain crazy, wild child persona, and she has matured very quickly past that point now that she realizes that was ridiculous of her to do, and she is just presenting herself to the world in a more genuine way now. I think that's the biggest sign that this isn't something she's faking for attention, because if all she wanted was attention, she would just continue down the route she was going last year.
You don't think this could be connected to the idea of the vibe shift and just looking at the way the winds are blowing as far as the culture? I guess not, because music isn't going to change. Like, you could make the argument that these types of identities are going to become less fashionable based on trends, but I think music is only going further in that direction.
Well, I don't think she's making a cynical move to hop on the cultural shift bandwagon.
I think she could 110% be doing a cynical move to just jump on the not to say
there's
that
no way, because I mean, even women who never identify as gay talk about this. They say that, when they were in a toxic relationship, if they were in a relationship that made them unhappy, whether or not it was abusive, it actually makes you feel, it makes you look the way you feel on the inside. It makes you less beautiful on the outside when you feel worthless because of a relationship you're in that is going nowhere. Women have talked about getting... I
guess when I see this stuff, I think of like, I understand what you're saying in the context of like the real world. But when you put the added element of your job and that your image is part of your job now, I become more cynical.
But she knows her audience, and she knows that the audience she cultivated over the last year does not take kindly to her changing her lifestyle this
That's
way.
why I asked if like
It's
this
not
could
self-interested.
be, if this could be the type of thing where she's predicting that things will change in the culture. But perhaps you're right. Like, I don't see music changing drastically enough to make this to cynically do this purely for financial means.
No, I think all that she needed to do was wait a while and grow up a little bit.
Yeah.
And
How old is
do
she?
what feels
21?
naturally to her, which is be a woman for once.
How old is she? 21?
She's 22
Okay.
at this point.
Yeah. And then look, people were bringing up we talked about it, Demi Lovato, like getting married after having years of all of this stuff. I implore you to not put any weight on celebrities' behavior as some type of indication that things are changing in culture. I don't think that that's necessarily true. And I think that Hollywood will churn out more of whatever you dislike at like a exponential rate because they want things to go a specific direction.
Well, this is also not just something that applies to celebrities. I think this applies to ordinary people as well. And that's why we push back on the idea that you shouldn't wait to be perfectly self-actualized and meeting all of your personal individual goals and your healing journey and therapy and everything before you consider getting into a long-term relationship that's eyed toward marriage. You should actually embark on a long-term relationship before you are complete as a person, before you've completed some arbitrary self-actualization journey, because part of getting married is that now you're tied to this person and you're going to change because of it. So
grow with the
if
person.
Jojo Siwa took the advice of the culture and decided to explore her identity endlessly before getting into a relationship, she wouldn't be happy in a relationship with a man right now.
Okay.
And I think that getting into the right relationship can actually be the key to finding out who you are, who you're meant to be.
Antonius Block says, Mary is a hopeless romantic. Brett is a cynic. I'm cynical.
Case, yeah.
I'm cynical towards people whose image is connected to their ability to make money in this way. Like this story would ring very different to me if it was just what's the female version of Joe Schmo 32 Electric Boogaloo? I guess that would be Jane Schmo 32 Electric Boogaloo. I would treat that differently, but I have a general nature of skepticism towards anything related to the personal lives of celebrities, because their ability to make money and their standing both socially with the general public and within their own industry means that a lot of forethought goes into what they share, what they don't share. So my hackles are always up in that respect.
If anything, Jojo Siwa has zero concept of what not to share with the public. That's why she's sharing it.
Well, we'll have to see what happens for her. But it's interesting that when you make a choice that they don't like, they end up having a very, very different approach to how they see you, especially when it's supposed to be about unconditional love, supposedly.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So Superchats.
Shane H. Wilder said, Happy Friday, Brett and Mary. So apparently Dolly Crew is a thing. Dolly Parton and Motley Crue collabed on a cover of Home Sweet Home. It's a vibe.
Okay.
And by vibe, I mean it sounds like they just took the original master tracks and inserted Dolly into it. Ain't no way Nikki Sixx re-recorded his vocals. I feel like that's something the world didn't need, but if you enjoy it, more power to you.
I think it's better to think that they did get into the studio together and re-record it.
Just becoming instant friends.
Yes.
AI Shih Tzu said Jojo Siwa. Come on, guys. That's not even a real name.
Yeah.
Well, let me look it up. Is that a stage name? I never really thought.
Siwa's a unique enough last name that I could see
Siwa
it
is
being,
her name.
I could see that being her real name.
That is her real last name. So her real name is Joelle Joni Siwa.
Okay.
Not JoJo, but JoJo was given to her for Dance Moms, and she stuck with it.
That makes sense to me. You shorten it. You don't want to become victim, however, of Vince McMahon syndrome in WWE, which is everybody who has got a full name. By the time they get called up to the main roster, they get rid of one part of the name, and you just have a singular name, which is what could have happened to her. But there's already a JoJo.
Right. Well, no one remembers the old JoJo.
I remember the old JoJo.
Love the old JoJo, but she's not as relevant as the new JoJo.
She did that COVID song, and I'm never going to forgive her for that.
She's a great singer, though. Shane H. Wilder said, crusty dog named Bella. That's oddly specific. Yeah, I mean, is it just me? I had several friends, growing up, and I would go to their house, and they'd have a tiny, white, crusty rat dog named Bella. Like, that's just normal.
Why Bella?
I specifically remember at least one friend. And then I later found out this was a meme, that, like, other girls experienced this. Like, all of their friends had a white, crusty dog named Bella. With the crust around their eyes.
So is it just because it's around the eyes, that's all that makes it crusty?
They're just dirty. They look dirty. They are dirty, and they're all named Bella for some reason. I don't know.
One more.
Antimus said, I like the bitch boy comment because that's mask off on what these sort of women think of men they commit to. It's the expectation of zero judgment.
To be fair, that was Alex Cooper's response to somebody that wasn't her.
Somebody else's boyfriend.
But I guess the implication there would be that would be her response if her husband was like, oh, can I see your encyclopedia-sized book of sexual interactions? And she's like, why? Why do you want to see that? What, are you insecure?
No, I mean, she has a list in the form of the podcast called Call Her Daddy. Like, that is her list. You can listen to it. Literally, the entire world is privy to her sexual conquests.
Let's hold off on the rest and we'll come back.
Charlie Sheen and Denise Richards share 2 daughters together. One is Sami Sheen, who is 21 years old, and her younger sister, Lola Sheen, who is 20 as of this month. And I just want to show you a picture of them together so we can demonstrate the difference between these 2 young women. On the left is Lola Sheen, the younger sister, and on the right is Sami Sheen. And, you know, the difference between these 2 girls is apparent. One of them looks like a real human being, and the other one looks dead in the eyes, injected, spray tanned, literally just a fake person. And the differences between these 2 sisters are more than skin deep. They also completely diverge in their core values, as is evident from their public feuds over the last several months, and the most recent being over Lola Sheen's views on gay relationships and trans identity. Sami Sheen, the older sister, who, if you don't recall, joined OnlyFans back in 2022, just months after turning 18. She posted a TikTok titled "A Message to My Sister Since She Blocked Me" at Lola, and she essentially took to her platform to call out her sister for being allegedly homophobic and transphobic and closed-minded because she is Christian. Sami Sheen does not share any of the same values that Lola Sheen has. And the fact that Lola Sheen seems to have these more traditional values and is kind of based has nothing to do with the way that she was raised, because obviously Charlie Sheen and Denise Richards did not instill these values in her. She found them on her own when she grew up. And she's been open about her conversion to Christianity and joining a church in her area. And she says it's completely transformed her life, and that she found faith at a very low point when she was struggling with her mental health. And she's also sharing her testimony. She has a public podcast related to her faith. On the other hand, Sami Sheen is making big bucks selling pictures of her tits. So they literally could not be more different from each other. And Sami Sheen decided to make their feud public instead of talking to her own flesh and blood in private about their differences.
Because she got blocked, right? That's what she's saying. Like, likely she was sending her some type of, like, annoying message that was extremely judgmental. She's like, I don't want to put up with this, so she blocked her.
So we'll watch her video now.
My mom did an amazing job raising me and my sister to be very accepting of everyone's sexuality and gender identity and everything else under the sun. So that's why it is so...
To be fair, before we continue, remember that one of the first things they did after she joined OnlyFans with her mom was to talk about collaborating on OnlyFans with her mom. So...
it was only weeks after Sami Sheen started OnlyFans that Denise Richards followed suit, because she is insane.
So, you know, take of that what you will about whether you think that person's judgment matters to you.
Yeah.
So sad for me to see that my own sister is homophobic and transphobic now. And I wasn't going to take it to the internet, but she has her reposts on, and they're public for everyone to see, and she has been reposting this man's stuff. And it disgusts me, because it's so sad that she's this conformed to her religion that now she thinks like this. I understand everyone has their own beliefs, but you don't have to be transphobic or homophobic to follow your beliefs, okay? Someone's sexuality and someone's gender identity should not affect you. Who gives a shit what someone identifies as? If that makes them happy, let them be. Stop trying to tell people that there's something wrong with them because they identify a certain way. So this is the video that made me make this video. She reposted this. It's this man named Bryce Crawford. I have a fucking bone to pick with this guy, okay? I stalked his page. He has a podcast page and a regular page. This video is basically talking about when someone is transgender, it's them not following the way that God made them, and the way they feel about their gender is a sin, because what's their actual gender is what's in between their legs, and they can't change that, so they need to change their brain. And my sister reposted that. She also reposted this video. I was really confused by this until I went to his page and saw that he was so excited to go to this parade, not to support gay people and fight for rights and everything, but to mock them and pray over them and ask them like what happened to them as a child to make them turn out this way. I asked Lola if she would want to come to a pride party with me, and she laughed in my face. I also asked her how she would feel about me if I ended up marrying a girl, and she got really weird and was like, well, I mean, I guess I would come to the wedding, but I think every woman needs a man to provide for them. Right. Yeah, because men are so amazing.
Okay, pause. This woman is on OnlyFans. You have millions of men providing for you, so let's not act like you're above it all.
Okay.
It's really sad that I'm related to someone like this when we've both been raised the same way, and I am a part of the fucking LGBTQ community, and I wish my sister was a fucking ally. It's just honestly disgusting, closed-minded behavior, and I really hope she snaps out of this eventually. And the reason I'm making this video is because she has officially blocked me. Like, I sent her this, she can't even have the decency to respond to me, okay? And then she finally responds to something else completely unrelated, but then when I bring up this topic again, she doesn't respond. And then I woke up to seeing that she reposted this video, so I sent it to her, and I'm officially blocked. Which confirms everything, because if she didn't feel that way towards people, she would explain herself. So
that's fundamentally untrue. What you're doing is you've entered into a discussion with somebody in bad faith, and you're putting them on the defensive, and it is natural to not want to engage with you because likely you're just looking for any type of response because you come from a place of kind of infuriating moral superiority.
Oh, and I want to play the last part because it's so self-righteous. The call out.
Oh, Lola, if you're watching this, I urge you, just for 5 minutes, put the Bible down. It's gonna be okay. You can live without it for 5 minutes. And pick up a pride flag and support the fucking community, because I don't know if you've realized it is Pride Month. And you reposting those things during Pride Month is just otherworldly. I don't know who you are anymore. This is not you. We were not raised like this. And I'm embarrassed. I am fucking embarrassed that my own sister is a homophobe. Do better. Seriously.
As I said before, when we were not on air, I said, telling somebody to do better is like the one thing.
I'm going to reenact a phone call that I just had.
Is the one thing in the world you should be allowed to just like start a duel with somebody over. Like, there is nothing more infuriating than somebody telling you to do better.
Yeah. She quite literally said, put down the Bible and pick up the pride flag.
My mom did an amazing job.
So, like, what's ironic is, like, she's being just as judgmental back at her, so it's just a judgmental off.
Well, it's funny because I read into all of Lola Sheen's interviews about her family. They launched a reality TV show about Denise Richards and her daughters back in March on Bravo called Denise Richards and Her Wild Things. And they had a lot of scenes where Lola and Sami were getting into spats, not over politics or religion or their values, but just interpersonal disputes. And Lola was commenting on her decision to be a part of the show. And she actually was kind of the least judgmental person I've ever heard. She said, we obviously live very different lives and have very different beliefs, but that's okay. I'm doing what makes me happy, etc. This was her thoughts on her sister and mother joining OnlyFans in 2022. I would never judge anybody for doing OnlyFans because that has nothing to do with me. But I just know that it cannot be the best for your mental health. My reaction was I was a little worried, but not judgmental, just concerned because she's putting herself out there for all these people. And I didn't want it to take a toll on her as a person. So that's why I was worried. She says she would never encourage someone to do OnlyFans and insists that she's not supportive and would not judge anyone for doing it. I feel the same way about both of them joining OnlyFans. It's just like what they want to do. It's not what I would do. I would never want my kids to do that. So it's kind of not for me, but it's clearly what they like, and that's okay. So she's treading on eggshells, trying not to sound judgmental, and despite her best efforts is still being dragged in public by her own flesh and blood for her beliefs, which are tied to her religion, which are completely understandable. And, you know, if these two girls were raised properly, they would be shamed in their household for bringing their private disputes into the public eye. And Sami Sheen actually should be ashamed of herself for doing that, because there's no concept of loyalty to your family in what we just watched.
Yeah.
She doesn't care if she's completely immolating her sister's reputation. She only cares about looking like the virtuous one.
Yeah.
And she knows that, of course, her audience on TikTok is going to applaud her for this and say, like, she's an ally. But, you know, the message should be, you go talk to each other. Go talk to your mother, not the internet. The internet is not going to solve this problem for you. She also just last month talked about their interaction over Mother's Day when they were celebrating Denise Richards, their mother. And Sami Sheen said she wanted to respond to the people saying Lola is nice and clarify that actually she's the nice one and Lola is mean, because Sami was bragging about all of the money she spent on her mom for Mother's Day. Money that she got off of OnlyFans. Meanwhile, her younger sister, Lola, chooses to be a restaurant hostess. Not a Nepo baby, not an actress, not a model. No, she has a very normal job for a person her age. She has very modest goals for her life. She chooses to live conservatively. It was very hard for her to convince herself even to be on this reality TV show. But her reasoning, as she put it, is, you know, she just felt that it would be really important to be someone in the public eye who could talk about her faith.
Yeah, I think she probably underestimated how difficult that was actually going to be in the current cultural climate.
Of course, you're going to get backlash from people who are not related to you, but you wouldn't expect your own sister who you grew up with to be one of them. We have a 20 from Pop Culture Junkie. Either of you folks know when the word turd do better got dropped into the Caddyshack swimming pool that is our society?
I mean, I think that it's been relevant for a long time, but a lot of people think back to Sam Wilson in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and he says, "You got to do better, Senator." The idea of like grandstanding like that was ridiculous at that time. And again, I think for the most part, like, when you hear that phrase, it's a blanket, it's a cudgel, it's a weapon. It's used to force you to behave a certain way, and it denies the humanity that you have and the nuance that you can have as an individual. So when you talk about these types of topics, the reason I hate the idea of being an ally so much is because you're expected to speak on behalf of a whole bunch of people that you've never met, who could have varying beliefs, and the only thing that they really have in common is that they conform into whatever group of oppression you're speaking of in this instance. And I don't think of people as members of groups. I think of people as individuals, which is why I think it's one of the hardest things for me to do in this job is to talk about things on a macro scale, because it's kind of what you have to do because you're talking about larger concepts. But speaking on individuals and what they believe, who they are, Even getting down to what they're talking about and who they choose to love is something that I find way more interesting, because the individual will always be more interesting to me than what the large group says, because the large group is going to be dictated by whoever is the loudest and the meanest and the most power hungry of that group. And in today's society, that's even worse in the age of the internet. And the phrase "do better" sucks.
We are officially past the peak of what was once called cancel culture. I think a lot of people are saying cancel culture is dead. I wouldn't say that, but we're definitely past the point where it was at its peak of relevance. The saddest thing about this story to me, it has nothing to do with the fact that they're celebrities or the children of celebrities. What is sad about it is that this experience is not exclusive to celebrities. There are family members torn apart by divergent political views and social views and faith all the time. And it's not just people who have a public platform who feel the need to do call outs. And Lola even recalled that at Thanksgiving last year, they were able to put their differences aside and just laugh and talk together, and it was like they had never been on the outs in the first place. But Sami Sheen, being the one who is more public and has a bigger following and sexualizes herself online, she was the one who reignited their beef and made it into a public spectacle.
Also, large groups like this tend to believe in the idea of punching up and punching down, and in this case, just by virtue of her fame, she's punching down. So, look, I don't subscribe to whether that's a reason you should have an opinion or not, but by their own logic, she's doing wrong by punching down on somebody that has no desire to be in the public image.
Well, at the peak of cancel culture, though, it was commonplace for siblings to turn on each other and expose problematic tweets or whatever, or for children to cancel their parents. That was just commonplace back then. Now I think it's a little more frowned upon, fortunately, but clearly this is still happening. And if it affects celebrities who are literally on a reality TV show showing the world all of their disputes, it's certainly true for people in their private lives who have no such concerns about what millions of people think.
Yeah, and I do think that your love of family and your commitment to your family should run deeper than whatever your in fashion or out of fashion political views are, and that goes for both of them, meaning that whether you support what Lola believes or you support what Sami believes, they should be able to put aside what they believe and love their sibling because they're their sibling. And in a lot of ways, that's all you have in the world. The people that will turn, granted, Sami seems to be kind of proving that concept wrong here, but I think that that's on a large scale not the accurate assessment of how family should be, which is that, you know, when it all falls apart and everybody gives up on you, no matter what you believe, your family should be there for you, work to pick you up when you're down, and love you no matter what. And I do believe that's true for both of them, no matter what either of them believe.
Right. Yeah.
Like what their beliefs are is immaterial here. Your family should love you. And that goes for what Sami is saying about sexuality and what Lola is saying about religion. If they disagree with you, that shouldn't stop them from loving you.
This is why it's such a cancer that everybody behaves and acts as if they're a celebrity these days.
Yeah, everybody's running for president, as I always say.
Everybody's running for president, and they think that they need to project a certain image on social media, even though no one cares about you. And they feel they need to have a brand, and even if a family member tarnishes it, that is a personal affront to you. At the end of the day, your TikTok followers and your OnlyFans subscribers are not going to be there for you when it counts. Your sister is the only one you have.
They will abandon you. The second you have like that's true for like even if you went as far as like what we do on a much smaller scale, which is that like, you know, people here might agree with the things that we say, but you could have one opinion. And I see this on X all the time, right? Somebody has one opinion that's wildly divergent from everything else they believe, and the names calling starts, and suddenly they're persona non grata. Anything in this space is a fair weather friend. And the ones that the family that you were born into, that's a lot of times going to be the only ones that you can trust. So, all right, let's do super chats.
Alice said, sadly, it's a lot higher than 4 to 6 among women under 40. Those statistics are our mother's generation and won't be updated until our generation gets elderly. That is true. Those numbers are skewed by the fact that it's polling all women today instead of different generations. But I imagine that the millennials will have higher body counts than Gen Z by far.
Because Gen Z is so neurotic and antisocial?
Yeah, because they are engaging in less hookups, less relationships in general. That is going to be interesting to see. Shane H. Wilder said, don't keep a list, or better yet, don't be the town bicycle. This goes for men and women. It isn't that hard to not be the town crotch. Yeah, I mean, for them, maybe it's harder, but I mean, there were a lot of women commenting on it saying, yeah, I have a list, and it's one I think about all the time. There's one person on it, my husband. Yeah. They're the happiest ones. They're the happy ones, and they're the ones who society says, you should have experimented. You should have done self-discovery through meaningless hookups. One
of the most poisonous things there is to society now when it comes to relationships is this. The internet has created this world where everybody believes that there's greener grass just out of reach, and that they could maybe do a little bit better, or things could be a little bit different, and they should just not settle down. They should just keep looking for something bigger, something better. What that fails to address is the idea of perspective, and a lot of times gratitude is the most beneficial perspective you can take on life, because, and I know it's a cliche, but the idea that you love what you already have rather than what you aspire to. It became a hated trope, and the way that they would do this is like Hollywood would show you the couple that got married in high school, and they'd be bitching at each other's throat, and they would show them as if they were sad because they never looked for something greater, right? Not taking into account that perhaps they were never born with the mindset that they needed to look for something greater because they cherished what they already had.
I think people who are at rock bottom, they just want to drag everyone else down there with them. I was just listening to a podcast of a bunch of irreligious people, and they had the subject of waiting until marriage come up in their discussion. And a couple of them, even though they had no religious view that you are obliged to do so, they said, I think that's kind of cool that some people have the value that they want to only be with one person. And there was one host who said, fuck no, that's actually psychotic. That's insane. You're wrong if you make that decision in your life. The non-judgmental, tolerant type, right? And then in a later episode, I heard that same person say he had used Craigslist to hook up with people.
Seems safe.
This is the person who's acting like they're an expert on dating and sex. Yeah, I don't think so.
Our sergeant says that he's not one for slapping women, but thinks that maybe someone could use a little tippy-tapperoo. We can't advocate for any such thing here. So, I don't know. I don't even know what that was in reference to.
I don't know either.
Yeah, no violence. Though I
think Sami Sheen's life could metaphorically slap her in the face.
I get the impulse when people say the phrase "do better." I do.
Yeah. EDT said, I'll tell you right now, I've never known a single woman in my life, even the most promiscuous and easy, to keep an actual list. It's not normal. Yeah, I would say it's also like normal to a very small, disturbing subset of highly promiscuous people who already have comorbidities.
Let's hold off on the rest and we'll come back after. Let's move on.
In an era where most celebrities are alleged to be on Ozempic, whether they're microdosing it or injecting it into their veins, some people think it's refreshing that a lot of pop stars seem to be embracing their natural body type, including Addison Rae, whose fame is on the rise right now. I saw this TikTok where a girl said, "Can we talk about Addison Rae's body and how amazing it is that girls finally feel great about their bellies because there's finally a celebrity with a real body and no Ozempic shit." And she said, legit, I was hating on my belly all my life, and seeing someone rocking it with the same body type is so refreshing. And the first response said, can we not talk about that? Because they perceived it as insensitive for her to be even commenting on Addison Rae's body type and what she looks like, even though she had good intentions to start with.
There is a 20 from Phil that remains.
Hi, Phil. The infinite ways in which humans can suffer demands one be grateful for every moment of respite.
He's 110% right. He put into fewer words, more cogent, and more meaningful than any way that I could, because I tend to go off on rants about this type of stuff, and it never hits the same. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you for chiming in, Phil. And some of the comments were quite illuminating. One said, girly, the pop girls are fat. Addison Rae, Tate McRae, Sabrina Carpenter, and that's okay to say it. Glad that the music and entertainment industry has evolved. Now more female artists are accepting themselves. So let's just show some pictures of Addison Rae, the fat girl in question.
This is the fat girl.
The fat girl.
About.
Yeah, she's really, honestly, just morbidly obese. It's
I mean,
disgusting.
when I think of a heifer, this is exactly.
Yeah, she's on the mobility scooter at Walmart. This fat.
Like
girl.
I think I saw her on an episode of Plus Size Park Hoppers.
And then in these pictures, which drew a lot of comparisons to Britney Spears, she's at the gas station holding a Diet Pepsi, very on brand. I'm fat, right?
It is very early 2000s for a celebrity to be drinking soda. It's actually one of my favorite tropes of television shows. One thing you don't see anymore, you don't see characters just drinking soda. They're always maybe they're drinking wine with dinner, or the whole point is that they're drinking liquor. But if they're drinking something non-alcoholic, it's usually water.
If you're not aware, Addison has a single called Diet Pepsi. That's why. But it's
That's
also
the fatty they're talking about.
Very early 2000s for a girl who looks like this to be called fat or chubby, which might be proof that the culture is changing, that our beauty standards are changing, if this is now considered chubby or fat or overweight. But yeah, I don't understand what this girl is talking about, Addison Rae.
I think they were saying that belly in this case is a slur.
Yeah, they were saying that is an insensitive term with negative connotations.
Otherwise, it would be stomach.
Addison Rae is obviously a slim, athletic, muscular, healthy-looking young woman. She doesn't look like she's underweight or malnourished, but she's also not fat. I would say to many men, specifically, she's the ideal. She is the beauty standard. But, maybe she's just not Ozempic skinny. She's not looking like Ariana Grande, therefore she's fat. Now, this girl got a lot of backlash for saying that Addison Rae is a body positivity icon, because personally, I understand if someone looked at a picture of me and called me an icon for body positivity, I would take offense to that.
I think the thing is,
because the implication is that you're not conventionally attractive, and the implication is that you're fat.
I feel, okay, so I'm not like a modern pop music fan, and I think stans are maybe the most treacherous group to ever be thrust upon society. But the idea, you have to truly love mind-numbingly over-dramatic human interaction to engage in these spaces. And every time they post something like this, they have to know that they run the risk of being dogpiled by the absolute, I guess, meanest people you could ever hope to meet.
You must know that it's rage baiting, though, right?
It's gotta be, right?
Like, it's got to be an attention grab to say that Addison Rae has a fat belly, because I'm not seeing it. And she followed up saying, not me making a video about how inspired I feel by Addison Rae's body, but using the word belly because I had no idea it had a negative connotation, and finding out people completely missed my point. And then someone responded saying, I know you probably meant good intentions, but this is actually having the opposite effect, because it's saying Addison doesn't fit the beauty standard and that her body is bigger than others. Therefore, people with her body type are not accepted. She said, I never felt represented by the media, and I have a normal body. However, I've been told all my life that I have a big belly, and unfortunately, it's made me feel super insecure. Hence, I grew up in post-Soviet country where women are heavily judged based on appearances. So God forbid I discussed noticing a shift in the society where we perceive as beauty today. I find it refreshing seeing or hearing people online that look more like me. It makes it easier to wear whatever I want and not obsess over reaching unattainable beauty standards. Yes, I love seeing bodies like mine represented. But it's like, how do you think Addison Rae would feel after seeing a post like that?
Yeah.
You know?
Backhand full of knuckles with that compliment.
She's just a girl at the end of the day. And, you know, I don't think I would want to be called a body positivity icon.
Mm.
That's the most backhanded compliment I've ever heard.
Yeah.
A backhand full of knuckles, as you would say.
It's like when somebody says like, oh, I wouldn't wear something like that, but you really pull it off.
Right. And I see people bringing up examples of the way that the media used to talk about women's bodies all the time, especially in the 2000s when Britney Spears was at her peak. And, you know, it was genuinely kind of crazy the way that people in the media would talk about women's bodies, like that infamous photo of Jessica Simpson where she's literally a size 4 and they're saying she looks like a beached whale, you know, or Britney Spears when she made her comeback to music in 2008.
Yeah,
and
but
she had children and obviously looked slightly different, but like her waist measurement must have been different by what, 3 inches? And
Like,
she was called fat at the time.
Like I'm
It was
still
a very
one of those,
different time.
I'm still one of those people though when people make the jokes like this is what comically fat was in 2007. I'm like, so what's your point?
Yeah, I don't think it's something that we need to like, you know, lash ourselves over. Like, I don't feel like we have a collective societal guilt for having different beauty standards in the past, but we just don't live in that culture anymore.
Somebody in the chat says, what does this broad look like? I'll put a picture back up on screen. As you can see, not fat.
Yeah.
I mean, she is already doing something vastly different than what most women do, and she's not wearing high-waisted leggings. She's wearing
low waist is back.
Yeah.
Low rise is back.
See, I made
everything.
the comment long ago that in an age where people are generally fatter than they used to be, having a flat stomach is a sign of superiority in the culture.
Yeah.
It's a flex now to be able to wear a shirt that shows your stomach if you're a woman because, you know.
That's why people get so mad at it when they say low rise is back. You know, they're not ready. They didn't catch up with the trends. But, yeah, I mean...
Oh, he's saying the girl doing the complaining. Is that the girl in the picture? You can't really see her.
The girl doing the complaining?
Yeah.
Oh, she's in a loose shirt, so it's not like we would be able to tell anyway. Probably because she's insecure about her belly. But, you know, if she looks like Addison Rae, she has nothing to worry about.
Correct.
I just think it's funny that Addison Rae is now being, you know, praised for resisting Ozempic culture. And Tate McRae as well. These two are not quite on the level of a main pop star yet, but they're on the way there, and they also do a lot of dancing. They're athletes. So, of course, you know, if you gain a little bit of weight, having been extremely muscular and strong beforehand, you're just going to look better.
It's like when
and
you see
it comes down to genetics as well.
It's like when you see the really, really enormous linemen in the NFL that you wouldn't be able to run out of breath even if you like sent them running across the field because they're in such good shape physically because they practice every day. Like they can run and not be out of breath.
You don't lose the muscles if they're hidden. But I don't know, do you think that we're veering into territory where the heroin chic body type is making a comeback?
I don't even understand the concept of heroin chic. I'll admit that. Like I'm even at my age, like me in my past, I did a lot of stuff when I was younger, and the downers, the opiates, definitely never made me not eat. That was never true for me. I always imagined it was like heroin plus the diet pills is what created heroin chic.
I don't know. Do we think that Kate Moss back in the day was using heroin to stay skinny?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't understand. Maybe somebody else.
But that was the term that was coined because of her body type.
I mean, I don't know. I think that I don't think it was just heroin. I think it was diet pills and cocaine and heroin. So speedballs.
Yeah, most likely. But do you think that the beauty standard is changing?
Adrienne Curry is in the chat. Hello, nerds. Maybe she can give us the origins of the term heroin chic.
Yeah.
Beyond just Kate Moss.
Yeah.
Because to me,
one of the clips that I came across from the 2000s where women were getting shamed for having a couple extra pounds was actually on America's Next Top Model, and Tyra Banks was telling this girl, like, you're never gonna make it in this industry. And the girl had like a 24-inch waist. It was insane.
See, tons of Coke and coffee is a model's diet. See, that's what I think of. I don't think of it as heroin chic as like I did heroin and stopped eating. I think of it as drinking 8 cups of coffee and snorting lines.
No, but you know what's so infuriating about the way social media has taken over is now you're going to have all the supermodels doing what I eat in a day videos where they pretend.
That is the most toxic trend on the internet.
Where they make a whole fake food diary to convince people that they're just naturally underweight. It's like just a magic, trick in your genome that makes you heroin chic skinny even though you eat burgers all day.
Like, for some reason, when I think of it, like, I think of Get Ready With Me and What I Eat in a Day videos as the most toxic video types on the internet.
Yeah, they're lying. They're lying. They lie. And I've said it before, but there's this secret alternative magic pill to Ozempic, actually. You don't need Ozempic. There's this magic cure. It's called a calorie deficit. And it's actually not going to paralyze your stomach, give you Ozempic butt, Ozempic feet, Ozempic face, Ozempic teeth. It's not going to give you any of those side effects.
Yeah, people. And now, I just learned the other week, Ozempic penis for men.
Ozempic penis.
Which probably just means that their stomach, like, they can finally see it because their stomach shrunk.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions and no answers.
I have a lot of sympathy because it's like for somebody like me, like I'd like to lose 10 pounds and ice skate and get a decent amount of physical activity. But my job is just every other job that I've ever had. I was always on my feet. So this is the first time I've ever had a job that required me to be relatively sedentary.
Well, to be fair to us, today there were a bunch of sandwiches
we
shipped
didn't go
into the warehouse, and neither of us ate one of the sandwiches.
For me, that's mainly because there's only one type that I like, and it's always gone by the time we go over there. So I just didn't.
No,
even
it's because we're skinny legends.
If there was, I did give up the energy drinks to get rid of the sugar. I still have I have a couple of 5-hour energies a week, but the whole point was it wasn't the caffeine that bothered me. It was the sugar, and then you can't do the sugar-free ones because it's got the erythritol, which is going to like set your heart on fire and kill you. Apparently, it's all a thing. And for me, it's mostly I go in like waves where it's a matter of like I'll snack too much for a period of time and I'll feel like a piece of shit, and I'll cut back for a couple of weeks and then it'll creep back in. And in general, it would be great to just cut it out all entirely. But at the very least, being aware of like your bad habits and reeling them back in intermittently is better than just thinking you can eat and do whatever you want. Let yourself become a slob. So,
well, I'm going to give my actual real skinny secrets.
Go for it.
Pickles, bone broth, Halo Top ice cream.
Okay.
That's it. Oh, and also electrolytes.
What about olives?
I don't eat olives.
I'm saying, but is that also like? Are there any calories in pickles?
Nope.
Okay.
No.
Good.
I just love them.
I literally do buy like baby dill pickles and then intermittently.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
That's my skinny secret for the day.
Right. Let's do super chats.
Evan Perry said Bonnie Blue would have a dictionary.
Yes, she would. Yes,
Get
she would.
it? Ha.
Yeah, it's a pun. Guys, we're like 2/3 of the way to a third second crisis party, which we should get to.
We should.
It's Friday.
It's Friday. We deserve this. Not that Jon Stewart said.
See, that's what gets you in trouble. So
Why?
That's literally the inside joke with us. Like, it's like anytime I eat something unhealthy,
I earn
this. It's like me and Olivia will make that joke to each other. Anytime we eat something we know we probably don't need right then, it's like, it's okay. We earned it. You didn't earn it, Brett. You didn't.
I was just telling you earlier that people have these status updates that they put on their Instagram, and Xavier DeRusso's little note today was, "You don't need that dessert." And I was like, thank you, Xavier, but I am going to be eating ice cream tonight.
Yep.
Leave me alone. Not that Jon Stewart said a woman keeping track of partners was played as a laugh in the movie Mallrats. How far we have fallen.
Yeah.
Well, if it were a joke, it has to have a seed of truth in it, right? It's not unheard of.
I mean, that's what
I've
makes,
never known anyone to do that, though.
Having a seed of truth is usually what makes certain types of themes in these things interesting or funny, because it's like, maybe it's not common, but it definitely exists.
But have you known anyone
No.
who kept a list?
But here's the thing, that would never come up, because I would never ask. It's like, so,
Right.
do you have a list of all of the people you've slept with?
That's another thing. I think a lot of women assume that the locker room talk amongst men is a lot more explicit than it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
They assume that men go into detail about all of their sexual encounters. And
Judging by women's comedy, they're the ones who
Yes.
obsess about it way more than dudes do.
maybe not obsessed, but I think it just comes more naturally to women to overshare with each other, especially, but including about sex. And it's ill-advised because that's not information that your friends should be privy to. But I think women assume that men talk about sex the way that women talk about sex. And from my understanding, that's actually not true. They don't go into detail like that unless they're weirdos.
Never.
They would just say, like, oh, I slept with that girl, like, whatever.
Yes.
They wouldn't, like,
They would not ever
be talking
like,
about, like, the shape of her areola or something. Like, I don't know. It's just, like, it's not something that comes up. Pop Culture Junkie said, Brett, here's my annual peak gratitude. Every year after spending Thanksgiving week with old friends in Houston, I return to Orlando exhausted on my couch, filled with gratitude for the friends and future stories I'll tell.
See, I feel like that level of introspection is rare these days, and the ability to experience different things and know that as you're experiencing them, good and bad, that it's something to be grateful for, either because it teaches you something or it's a genuinely positive experience, is something that goes a long way when so much of what I read online today from everyone is about how awful everything is and how bad everything is and how bad this group is. Well, a great way to get over that is to acknowledge the good things that you have in your own life. One, because it's more tangible, because you're actually experiencing it. And two, it puts into perspective all of the negative things that everybody else is talking about online, which is why I actually make the comment a lot. I'm like, it's not a great argument if you're trying to win a debate, but anecdotal evidence is still the most powerful evidence that you can give a person, that you can share, because it's tangible and real. It's not going to win you debates. It's not going to prove anything's true or real, but that's how you get to people. You share anecdotal evidence of your own life, and that works better from a perspective of gratitude rather than trying to win some argument over something else.
Pedro said, Bread, why don't you ever dance with Marley at crisis parties? I want to see Brat dance too. No homo. Why don't you?
I don't. I'm saving it all for
Are
my...
you just insecure
I'm
about
saving
your
it all
dance
for my
moves?
wedding day. That's what I'm doing. I'm gonna be...
Am I actually going to see you dance at your wedding?
You're gonna be at the wedding, which means you will see me dance at my wedding.
I am going to see you dance?
It'll have
I
to
don't know if
happen.
I've ever seen that.
It's never gonna happen again after that. But yeah, I'm saving it all for my wedding day this year. That's what I'm doing. I'm saving it all up at once. I'm gonna make a crisis party song to play at my wedding.
Are you guys going to have like a basket for everyone to put their phones?
I don't think so. I mean, unless that was a decision that was made that I don't know about, but I don't think so.
Phones out?
Phone's out.
I'm not going to record it because I don't want me holding my phone up to be in any of the
I could be completely wrong about this. So this could have been a decision that was made, and I don't know. Olivia, are you in the chat? If Olivia's in the chat, she can let you know whether this is a decision that's been made or not.
Well, honestly, I think if you're taking professional photos, there's no need for anyone else to be recording anything. So
yeah,
it's probably best to have a rule like phones down during the ceremony.
Yeah, I would prefer that, honestly.
I just gave you a new idea.
Yep.
Brian Bledsoe said, Warner Bros. Owns a minority share of Fandango, so I'm skeptical about those ticket numbers for Superman.
Yeah, I mean, in general...
Wait, and Fandango owns Rotten Tomatoes.
Yes.
So basically, Warner Bros. Kind of owns Rotten Tomatoes. In a sense.
Minority stake doesn't really prove it. Thank you!
Thank you. So can we really trust those reviews?
Let's go!
I'm actually so excited for the new Crisis Party.
Yeah, it's good. It's so good that it doesn't require like a bunch of effects. I'm gonna have to find some type of like large scale sound to lead into it because it needs something to pop.
Yeah.
But other than that, it doesn't need a bunch of stuff cut into it.
Maybe just like Phil
Yeah.
saying "Let's go."
I mean, probably just a big explosion.
Something like that.
I like to just put a
We
big
love
explosion.
explosions. Shane H. Wilder said Pepperidge Farms remembers the old JoJo. The old JoJo fell off.
You don't want to listen to the COVID song from JoJo. That was the worst thing ever.
Also, her re-records of Get Out and Too Little Too Late, not as good as the original.
As we know, it should have been called JoJo's version if she really wanted to sell.
Yeah, she did Taylor's version before Taylor did Taylor's version, but the re-records are just not it. Also, if you look back at those music videos, you're going to be like, it's kind of crazy that they dressed up a 13-year-old like this to like sing about relationships.
It's not crazy at all. Look at what they did with what's her name? Lil Tay?
Well, that was years after JoJo.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but it's still happening.
Lil Tay is just the conclusion of JoJo. Culture Casino said, thanks for having my boy Mike Harlow on, friends. The show is really climbing.
Yes. First of all, what's up, Culture? I said it in the chat when he was there because Culture is awesome. And yeah, it was great to have Mike on.
We have a lot of friends in the chat today. JJ said, LGBT cult don't have that same energy for Islam. Well, at that point, you know, it's still tolerance and love, right?
In the chat, Adrienne Curry says, Mary was on fire last night, complete savage. It was beautiful. What were you so savage about last night?
What? I don't even remember.
What were you so savage?
What were we even talking about?
See, that's how I am with IRL too. Like, it's like I get done and I'm like, what do we talk about?
We're talking about how the DNC,
that happens here too.
The DNC is broke. Maybe.
Oh, because USAID got defunded and now they have no money.
Maybe calling Ken Martin a little bitch might have been the moment. We also talked about Charlie Kirk giving advice to a 14-year-old girl about whether she should go to college instead of,
what did he say?
You know, getting married. And he said, actually, if you're looking to get an MRS degree, that might be a great reason to go to college. And I was like, bro, you are so out of touch. You have no idea. If you go to college, most colleges at the very least, looking for a husband, like if you're looking to meet a guy and drop out, you will be very disappointed at the caliber of male that you find there.
Unless you're going to Brigham Young.
Unless you're going to Brigham Young University or my not so alma mater, Christendom College, where I dropped out, you're probably not going to find a spouse there. And even at Christendom, where it's like the stereotype is that everyone goes to Christendom College and finds their spouse, they told us only like 12.5% of students end up getting married to another student. That's a gamble if you're going just to find a husband. It happens. I was actually just, talking to a couple who met there, but it's not a surefire way. And it's also, of course, going to saddle you with endless debts.
Yeah.
It's going to handicap you if you're in marriage and you're trying to build a life together.
I go back and forth on the college degree thing these days. Like, look, I know that the popular argument is like, unless you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, something that requires a certain level of certification, they say you should just go out and do stuff. That's what they say. They just go do it.
We can just do things.
Just go do it. Just go start doing it. That works for some professions. Tim will use that argument on journalism because you can go buy a camera. These days you don't have to do that. You can just take your iPhone and you can go record at protests and become an on-the-ground journalist. And given the state of modern-day journalism, some might say that that's preferable anyways. Mm-hmm. But if you're not a self-starting person who wants to go make their own luck in the world as an independent contractor, if you're going to go apply for if you want that coveted office job, that laptop job, a lot of them are going to have a barrier to entry that requires you to have a 4-year degree.
Right.
So it's up in the air on all of them.
I think you've just got to go if you can get a scholarship and not go if you can't. That like, unless of course you have the means and your family can pay for it, but otherwise I just don't know how I could justify that.
Yeah, it's like, and then the debt trap is obviously is very clear and obvious. Everyone understands how they trap you, why you're going to spend the rest of your life paying back student loans to get out of debt. So to get the job that can pay for your student loans, you have to get them first, which then leaves you in the lurch for the rest of your life. For a lot of people, it's a scam in a lot of ways, but I don't know what the answer is. I think that the answer is that the system is broken, and I wouldn't be able to give you good advice on what to do, except for if your parents can pay for it, or you can get a scholarship that gets you to do so.
I enrolled only because I was told that the cost was not going to be on my shoulders.
Yeah.
And even then, I dropped out because I just felt like it was a waste of time. The opportunity cost was my student loan. Enlightened Fool said, "Let's go."
Let's go.
Druish AF of Christendom said, "My brother isn't blood but chosen family, but still that's hard to find. Only by grace of God are we saved and have those who can become family." There's something to be said for that as well.
The chosen family. It's really funny. Somebody brought up chosen family earlier in discussion with the Sami Sheen. Or no, it wasn't the Sami Sheen one. What were we talking about earlier when chosen family came up? And I think that's a really interesting thing because Hollywood loves the concept of chosen family because it you could say it's like an anti-nuclear family sentiment, and you may be right in some respect, given how many of them maybe come from, it's that classic story. They leave the oppressive middle-class household with religion, and they go to California, and they enter a life of debauchery, which gives them infinitely, in their opinion, more interesting stories to tell. But I think also pragmatically, purely from a storytelling point of view, is that maybe a lot of them, because of their bias against their family life growing up, they don't see anything interesting there. So as a storyteller, you see something as more interesting if you can bring people from all walks of life together to create a family, which allows them to also do different types of casting and different types of settings and stuff like that.
Well,
I don't think it's always
it's portrayed.
I don't know if it's always as straight down the middle nefarious as it's shown to be.
Yeah, I completely agree.
But
the way it's portrayed in TV shows is not the reality. I have nothing inherently against the idea of chosen family. Yeah. Culture Casino said, "Let's see my list 3." Well, thank you for disclosing that. The Hat and Beard Show said, "Guys don't talk about details like women. Worst I ever got was just flipping great at the time. LOL." What do you mean?
Yeah, what do you mean by?
I don't know what that means. Druish AF of Christendom said, "My list is in my head and very short. Meh." Is that your overall takeaway? It was all meh.
He wrote his list out at the bottom, put ... Meh.
Not worth it, sounds like. Pop Culture Junkie said, "I'll add to my previous. There is nothing better than knowing you're experiencing the good old days while you're experiencing them. The rare, there is nothing else I'd like to be doing right now moments."
Yeah?
Yeah, and they're bittersweet because you think, like, there's nothing better than this, but also there's nothing better than this, like, in this life, Yeah. Like, it doesn't get better than those moments, but it also, in a sad way, doesn't get better than those moments until you die.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of it is, like, it doesn't have to be the greatest moment ever, but take stock of your life after work tonight. If you don't necessarily love your job that much and you're out with family and you're just doing something you do every Friday night together as a family, take into account that that's what you've chosen for your life. You clearly want to be there. You want to be doing that. And it puts things into perspective, and focusing on that and looking at it in kind of a macro perspective compared to everything else that's going on is a great way to kind of keep things in line perspective-wise.
You got to be grateful for the negative experiences too.
Mm-hmm.
Ikek, therefore I meme, said, "Do y'all think men or women are the ones deciding these standards? I think men are so varied in their tastes, a minority would care about that specifically."
In relation to what?
Which standards?
I don't know what your...
But, maybe the beauty standards discussion that we were having. Both. It's both. Right? I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense to me. No one has a cultural hegemony over what we find beautiful. There is such a thing as objective beauty.
Most
sure.
people in these spaces want to put the onus on the other gender, or maybe even on their own gender, depending on what their argument is. But the gender wars are very profitable for a lot of people. So
I think
it's less interesting and more nuanced to talk about it as if everyone plays a role in this, and it doesn't sell copy the same way.
I'm pretty sure this is something that came up earlier this week where I was saying, the ideal body type has changed since the 2000s, and people underestimate how mimetic attraction is. And I think especially men underestimate how mimetic their attractions are. How much the media you consume can influence what you're interested in, what you're attracted to, including porn, but everything.
Like meaning just whoever's being shown on your most recent favorite TV show?
Whatever is idealized at the moment is probably what you're going to be conditioned to find attractive. And I think women are more susceptible to that for sure, but also men. And in the 2000s, I guarantee you most men probably thought that the tall, leggy, skinny blonde was the beauty standard, and that's what they were most attracted to. It's not like that anymore. Not because we somehow rewired their brains biologically to find something different attractive. It's just because of the media and the culture of the day that influences them to find, maybe the Kim Kardashian archetype more attractive.
I suppose that just means that everybody's fickle, and they're just what they remember is what they've been most recently subjected to.
And demographic change as well. There's more diversity in this country ethnically than there was in the 2000s or maybe the 90s. And that has an influence as well. So it's not something that we can really easily rage bait or soundbite about, but I think it's both. Shane H. Wilder said, using an iPhone to record protests? Don't call me out, Brett. I'm not bringing my good camera gear around those weirdos.
I don't blame you.
Be careful, though, because yesterday I just heard about that story of someone getting shot at a No Kings protest. I wouldn't want that to happen to you. And the guy literally was completely innocent and caught in the crossfire because of these insane so-called peacekeepers that volunteer. Imagine how insane you have to be to volunteer as a quote-unquote peacekeeper at No Kings.
Yes.
You know that those people are looking for a fight. They wanted something to go down that day. Drewish AF of Christendom said, there's nothing better than God and his creation. I love how wholesome this episode is getting.
It is very wholesome at the end here.
Really ending on a positive note. Shane H. Wilder said, during my nightly prayers, I always thank God for things that happen in the day, even if it's just that I woke up that morning. Everything is a gift.
That attitude will, you'll live longer. My key to living longer is to have no opinions on most things and not let things that don't concern me get me super riled up or angry. Like a lot of the times, like Mary will have to explain to me what a topic is about, and she's explaining both sides of like who's fighting about what, and I'm like, this is why I'm going to live longer than all of these people.
Well, I mean, I'm not too worried about it.
No, but I'm saying no, but you're sharing situations where people are fighting about things, like, and I'm like, man, that's got to be rough, like to be that like hard done by those things. And maybe I just feel differently, like. Oddly enough, coming to work here years ago and getting a job, and then kind of pivoting and now talking about stuff that's not so directly political, which is what I used to be expressly far more like very, very interested in. You're just less angry. When I can acknowledge that politicians are scumbags and hyper-partisan politics always ends in sadness for so many people. But to worry about it and think about it every day, like they just seem angry. Like so many of them just seem angry. Now there is the trope of the happy warrior, the guy who loves to be angry about these things.
Oh yeah, resistance is joy.
Yeah, like I can't bring myself to do it, and yeah.
Personally, nothing in the news cycle makes me angry or upset. What makes me angry is when I say something, when I try to make a point, and I feel that I'm either being deliberately misinterpreted or just misunderstood in the cacophony of social media voices, and I simply cannot communicate what I really meant.
Yeah.
The futility of trying to make a point and feel that people understand it That is what pisses me off.
You know why that is, right? The reason that exists now is because I would argue that that's always been true. And it's kind of the postmodernist perspective is like, can anybody really know what you mean by something? Like you can say something and people can say, oh yeah, I get it. But do they really?
Yeah.
But the thing is though, is the reason why that wasn't an issue prior to social media was that unless it was the most extreme of examples, the people in your life that you share your thoughts with have a baseline of love and respect for you.
They have context.
They have context and a baseline level of love and respect for you that precludes them taking what you're saying to the worst possible conclusion.
Yeah.
Whereas now, what we do, much to our own detriment, is we share out those same ideas with none of the context, none of that baseline level of love and respect, but we expect it in return, which really means that we're the ones that are crazy.
We're Boo-Boo the fool.
We're the crazy ones.
Yeah. Not to say that nobody felt misunderstood before the social media age. It's just so much more pronounced now.
Exactly.
Straight Rippin' 93 said, zip zop zippity bop.
Well, thank you. Like the fact that you were able to say that without stuttering or umming is why you read the super chats and I do not.
Was that a test? Was that a tongue twister? I think
have,
I passed.
I would have been like, zip, zop, zop,
You got it wrong.
zippity
You
zop.
got it wrong already.
Exactly.
Drewish AF of Christendom said, can I get a prayer for my third date tomorrow, please? Definitely. Third date is a big deal. Hope it goes well.
All right, guys, before we go, I want to thank all of you for joining us today. Thank you guys so much. Remember to please hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel if you are new here and you have not subscribed here yet already. Share this content, share this video, this live stream out with everybody in your life. Share the segments out with everybody you know. And you know what? I want you to argue. I want you to argue with people in the comment section. I know that's bad, but increase the engagement, share the content. It helps us grow a lot. So we got a couple more super chats.
Yes, we have a 20 from Pop Culture Junkie. My peak, sitting in my new Mazda RX-7 in Jacksonville, Florida, in a Dairy Queen parking lot in 1986, enjoying a blizzard. Had a great job, a great boss, and a hot new girlfriend. If I'm having a bad day, I can easily recall it. Yeah, don't be sad that it's over. Be happy that it happened.
One of the other reasons why we're programmed that way is like, look, if you look, people will send you 10,000 nice things, and somebody will say one negative thing. Your brain only remembers one of those 10,001 things. You know which one it is? It's not the nice ones. It's the negative one that burrows in your brain and that you remember. It's why people do it, because they want you to respond. They want your commentary back because all they want is to know that they were able to worm their way into your brain like a little mental ninja and burrow in there and take hold. Don't let them do that.
Shane H. Wilder said, I'm not covering anything this weekend. I will say last weekend I had my head on a swivel and tried to blend in because they be cray-cray out there. Yeah, we got to be careful. Stay safe over the weekend, y'all.
All right. Let everybody know where they can find you.
You can send me validation on Instagram at MaryArchived, or you can send me hate on X. That is also MaryArchived, and help me become TikTok famous at MaryArchived.
I think you mean TikTok famous again.
Again.
Yes.
But that's kind of supposed to be a secret. Like, I don't want TikTok to find out that I got banned.
Oh, yeah. You don't want them to, like, re-ban.
So let's just act like this is the first time I've ever downloaded TikTok, guys.
Perfect.
Follow me.
Guys, if you want to follow me, I am on Instagram and on X at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. We are here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is, of course, noon Pacific. We are on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. If you like to listen to the podcast rather than watch it, you can also rate and review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, which helps us out a lot. And if you want to follow us on social media, the show is on Twix at popculture_show, Facebook at popculturecrisis, Instagram at popculturecrisispod. Guys, we will be back with another episode on Monday. We'll see y'all then.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.